Good afternoon, everyone. Live from Silicon Valley, California. This is Success Sadhana. My name is JM, and I welcome you all to a program today. Follow the path of the greats. That's what we'll be discussing today. As I had written in my note, Vaish, he's on a 1 week self introspection. So every year, at the end of the year, typically last week of December, he takes a week off to go and introspect how did the year go, what were his accomplishments, what are some of the areas he can do better, and what are some of the goals. That's what he typically does. But last year he had conducted a youth retreat. He led a team of, I think, group of 50 youth for a retreat, and he couldn't take time off for his self-contemplation. So that's what he's doing today. He has gone up north in California, where you can't reach him. There is no cellular network connection, nothing. He's just focused on self-introspection. And I'm sure when he comes back next week, he will have lots of gems to share with us. What did he find after doing those self-introspection? So meanwhile, he has asked us to continue to meet and encourage each other. So what we'll be doing is we will go through some of the wisdom he has shared in the past and take this opportunity to keep the transcendental vibration going. So thanks Ramakrishna for joining, and we do have a few people online on Facebook who are also with us, so thank you everyone for joining. So with that, we will take a few minutes and center ourselves by doing a little mantra meditation, and then watch some of the slides which Vaishya shared previously. So if you would like, please sit a little straighter than you were a few moments ago. And start taking breaths deeper than normal, deeper than usually do. Deep breath in, deep breath out. And as you're taking these deeper breaths, please turn your attention to your breath. Feel the breath coming in to your nostrils and going out. And as you're breathing in, breathing out, you can say in and out in your mind. But focus on the breath. As you focus on your breath, you can feel that your muscles are relaxing, your forehead muscles, your chin muscles, your eyebrows, they all are relaxing. So keep taking deep breaths. I'm sure, at least for me, it was a pretty hectic week this week. Lots of things to juggle. So I'm really grateful that I'm getting this opportunity to slow down, refresh myself. So now as you're taking your deep breaths, let's relax our body by using the power of our attention. So turn your attention to your feet and ask your feet muscles to relax. Turn your attention to your muscles and the legs and ask them to relax. Keep taking deep breaths. Turn your attention to your hip, your wrist, your hand, your palm, your arm, and ask all of them to relax. Ask your stomach, your chest, your shoulder to relax. There was an example given that if you hold a glass of water for a few minutes, it may be okay, but if you have to hold it for, let's say, 8 hours, it may be very, very difficult to hold on. So all our muscles, holding on, all the stress for so long, we need to give them a break. So ask them to relax. Ask your neck, your chin, your eyes, your eyebrows to relax. Ask your forehead, your head muscles to relax. Keep taking deep breaths and feel the joy of relaxation. Once the stress goes away, the muscles are no longer tight. It's such a joy to experience that. Now we will chant few mantras. We'll chant the Om mantra. We'll take deep breath in and then we'll chant Om. If you would like, please join me behind your muted mics. Let's take deep breath in. And as you're chanting this Om mantra, feel the vibration in your heart region, in your forehead, your face, and feel the nourishment. Let's take deep breath in. 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 breath in. Deep breath in. Now let's focus on the heart region, feeling the vibration, and let's take this moment to be grateful for everything we have in our life, from the sunlight, the oxygen, the food, the shelter, this opportunity to meditate, to be with us, each other. Slowly rub your hands, open your eyes, and come back to the Zoom room. Thank you, Jesse, for joining. Thank you, Raj, Ramakrishna, and Sankari. Thank you so much for joining today. I hope you all are doing well. As I had mentioned in the beginning of the session, Vaish, he is on a 1 week break. Every year he takes a week off doing self-contemplation, reflecting on what all went well as well as what are the goals for the next year. He typically does that in end of the year, but this year, as I mentioned, he had gone last year for a youth retreat and couldn't get that time, so he took this opportunity to do that. So I'm sure next week when he returns, he will have lots of gems to share with us. But meanwhile, thank you for joining today. So let's take a look at a few of the messages and then we'll discuss some of the slides. Let me share my screen. Okay.
Hi, JM.
Yes, Raj?
So as we go through the slides, I had a question about the initial Om mantra that we were chanting.
Sure.
So I wanted to know the percentage of time that you should be spending on pronouncing O, where you can exhale, and where you cannot do exhale through the mouth. Is there any particular breathing specific time, or it's just random?
That's an excellent question. Thanks for bringing that up. Typically, it's recommended to have 33% on O and 66% on so that's the proportion generally recommended. Today I didn't follow that strictly because I have issue with microphone, so I realized like when I pronounce it doesn't come out very well on Zoom. But in general, you split it 1/3 on O and 2/3 on That's the recommendation. But thank you for asking this wonderful question.
And also follow-up question: when you say next deep breathe in, by that time at least I make another deep breathe in, or not deep, but some breathe in before you even say that. Does it mean that it's not perfect? So that you do 33% or 66% and then you don't take any breath until the next deep breath that you were talking about?
Yeah, so typically you pronounce the Om mantra with one inhale and then you use the entire exhale to complete your Om, and then you take the next deep breath and then the next deep breath inhale, and then you start pronouncing. So Your cycle may or may not be aligned with my cycle. It's up to you. If you're comfortable, you can have your own cycle, because some people are able to take more deeper breaths, other less. It's all about practice. So you can do that, or you can just wait for the inhale to start again. Up to you. There is no hard and fast. Whatever works for you is perfect.
But irrespective of the length, ideally, breathe in, Om, breathe out. As you say, finish saying the mantra, and then start all over.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. Thanks,
Yeah.
Jaya.
Thanks, Raj. Wonderful question. Jesse also reflected good question. I've often wondered the same. Yeah, it came to me also, and as we'll talk today, today's apt topic. One of the great yoga teacher, actually, he guided me as well, sharing. This is what generally you split up. Okay, so given you all have come, this some of you might have seen this video, but I still find it very beneficial to watch it again and again. So let's watch a short message from Vaish, and then we'll take a couple of slides and maybe some reflections.
Here in Italy, I'm staying on a little farm, and I've been fascinated by the ants here. You may be able to see them coming in and out of their hive. And they've formed these little highways. I'm going to zoom out so you can see the pattern. If you see a little freeway-like path that's etched into the ground, I think you can see it now. You'll notice that it stretches as far as the eye can see across the meadow. And on that pathway, there are millions of little ants, and they're carrying tiny pieces of straw, bringing them back to their little place. Meanwhile, in another part of this meadow, I noticed a pathway for people to walk on, but it's natural. It's something that has come about by people walking on it every day. So in the bhakti practice, there's a sense of following a path. And I was thinking about paths and how they are the way most traveled by someone, whether ants or people. The ants, in their industriousness, carve a path into the meadow, so do people walking across to try to get to their house. And we too can find a path that's been tread by those whose intention is to not stay in the material world, but actually to find their ultimate goal. Mahajano yena gatasa panta is an admonition given in the wisdom literatures. Mahajano means the great souls, those who have realized that this lifetime is just a flash and there's a purpose to it. Maha means great and Jana means persons. Mahajano yena gatasa panta, so gata means goes and panta means path. So the wisdom literatures say, find the path that has been cut by those walking towards the ultimate goal of life and follow that path. It's easy because the path is already cut. You can see it, you can tread it. Don't try to make your own path through the wilderness. Great souls, those before us who have expansive desire for the Supreme and who have walked that path, have cut it for us. And if we simply follow it, we'll be successful. Follow the path of the great souls. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, I really love this message. What I like about the message is that we are not alone. There are other great souls or consciousness who have already ventured, already created path. They have left wisdom for us to follow. So we have company. We don't have to figure out all this ourselves. We have help. So I love that about this video. And also, as the corporate mantra goes, don't reinvent the wheel. If somebody has dedicated their life and have achieved realization, our life is very short. We don't to spend a lifetime to get to the same point. I think I forget the famous quote where I think it will come in another video where we have. I think it was Newton, I believe. He said, "I've stood on the shoulders of giants to achieve the discoveries I have." I believe. So those are some of the points I like about the video from Vaish. Do you have any thoughts, points, reflections, questions on this video? Please do share if possible. Just check in if there is any message on the Facebook as well. Yeah, Hare Krishna, thank you. Nope, okay. So we'll continue with the rest of the slides. Just a second, I'll. Okay, sorry, it took a second to share. I'm hoping it comes up soon. Yeah. So this verse which Vaish quoted, it's from Bhagavad Gita. Sorry, it's from Chaitanya Charitamrita, CC Madhya Leela 17:186. Follow the path of the great souls, and he was referring to Mahajano Yena Gata Sapantha. So in the translation, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is the golden monk, he says, dry arguments are inconclusive. A great personality whose opinion does not differ from others is not considered a great sage. Simply by studying the Vedas, which are variegated, one cannot come to the right path by which spiritual principles are understood. The solid truth of spiritual principles is hidden in the heart of an unadulterated, self-realized person. Consequently, as the Shastras confirm, one should accept whatever progressive path the Mahajans advocate. So, one point made by the golden monk is that arguments and logic will not carry you to the absolute truth, because another logician may come and defeat you. So, if we have to discover the absolute truth, if we argue or explain through logic, somebody else might have better logic in future and might come up and say the conclusion was wrong, and so on. For example, back in olden days, it was considered that Earth was flat, Earth was the center of the universe, and then another scientist came and said, no, Earth is not flat, it's round. And sorry to disappoint you, but Earth is also not the center of the universe. There are other bigger stars and which are around which Earth is rotating. And in fact, I believe when I was studying, there are 9 planets in this solar system. And now my son says that Pluto is not actually a planet; it's a dwarf planet. It doesn't have its orbit. It goes around, moves around, kind of. So as you can see, the truth, absolute truth, like Earth is flat, the absolute truth, if you can, like that we know, that keeps changing as we uncover more information. So it's not through logic that we can understand absolute truth, because truth doesn't change, and through logic and argument, what we argue, we have seen those changing. So that's one point which is made in this verse. And the second one is that that is the materialistic way of gaining name and fame and popularity. That is to say that in the today's corporate world, you have to innovate, which means you have to change and you have to become better than the rest of the world. Otherwise, you'll perish, innovate or die. So if today we are all fine-tuned, if we are all tuned to always constantly change and improve and become better, with that mindset, will we be able to discover truth? Because truth should not be changing. And lastly, Golden Monk also mentions that Muni must put forward a new theory. That Muni are like sages, and if you have to carve out a name for yourself, whether it's a sage or a scientist, you have to propose a new idea, a new theory, which others have not said before. You can't plagiarize, like copy somebody else's idea and become famous using that. So given everyone wants to do that, they all keep putting forward a new theory. So if there are so many theories which are put forward, whose philosophy will you accept? Like how will you evaluate if there are every day there are new philosophy which comes about? And finally, whom will you follow? So those are some of the questions which are raised. And we do know that for spiritual journey, there are various scriptures, various wisdom literature, whether it's Holy Bible or Quran, or even there are various Vedas which are available. They all preach, if you look at the essence, in the end, they all preach love for the Supreme, love for the original conscious source from where we all have come about. And that's what they all preach, they all want us to take to. But there are differences in the approaches between them. And if once you see contradictions, then you may start doubting everything. Look, which one is right? Maybe nothing is right. Everything is wrong, right? Like if the destination is same, why there are so many ways of doing that, or so many different way conflicts in doing that. So that such doubts might creep up if we just go and read those wisdom literature ourselves. So that's where when there are so many different wisdom literature which might confuse us, it's good to be guided by somebody who has contemplated, who has read through them, who has gone through it, taken the wisdom, applied in their own life, gotten realizations, and instead of reinventing the wheel, they can share with us what they have found and which might be beneficial. So that was the opening point from those couple of slides. I would love to hear any thoughts, questions from anyone, anything which you heard, which you liked, or any questions based on it so far. Okay, looks like we are good. So I'll continue with the next few slides. Okay, so that's what Vaish was saying, follow the path of the great personality, Mahajano Yena Gata Sapantha. And if you follow, what are the benefits? Let's take a look at another of his video where he expresses the benefits of following the experts.
In the sciences, liberal arts, athletics, all depend on following the experts. Following in Sanskrit, it's called anupashyati, when you see using the lens of the expert eyes of others who have already developed a discipline to the highest degree. In fact, the wisdom literatures that teach us yoga say that the best way to advance on the path of yoga is to follow those who are known as masters. When we follow the masters, even if we ourselves are not masterful, then we get the benefits of following them and we're eligible for the same results that they got. Some say it's Sir Isaac Newton who said, "I have seen further by standing on the shoulders of giants." We can see further, we can have deep insights, even if we're not so qualified, by following the experts and seeing what they see. Following in the footsteps is so powerful that the Srimad Bhagavatam, the greatest treatise on Bhakti Yoga, says that when you approach a subject matter and a discipline in yoga by following an expert or a master, the ocean of difficulty that was before you, it shrinks to the size of a hoofprint of a calf, and you can easily step over it. So you see, by following the experts, one can attain perfection in any science. Please visit me at Vaisheshika in the
So yeah, that was a nice message, reinforcing the key principle that how we can accelerate our journey and reduce the ocean-like challenge in front of us to as small as a hoofprint of a calf by following experts. And in Bhagavad Gita 7.19, it states that great souls are very rare. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. So such experts who have followed on the transcendental path and who are available and ready to share such knowledge, they are very rare. So it's a great fortune that we have such individuals who are available to get those wisdom from. And given the great souls are rare, it's still we can identify who those great souls are, because in Bhagavad Gita 9.13 it states that, O son of Pratha, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as a Supreme Personality, original and inexhaustible. So who are the great souls? Those souls who do not get entangled and deluded in this material world, and they are in the protection of divine nature, and who are always engaged in devotional service. So they know that the way to attain supreme and make progress on transcendental path is through devotional service. And such people, if you find people who are following that path, who are service oriented, whose only mood and motive in life is to serve others and the Supreme, they are considered as great souls or teachers whom we can follow. So there is another message from Vaish which we can play, where he reiterates what yoga means and how the great souls or the experts teach us by their practical example of how to practice yoga and attain the Supreme. I just want to see that I've shared my audio as well, so just give me a second. I hope you can hear.
Good morning. I'm here in the countryside, not too far from Rome, about an hour outside Rome. It's definitely country though. You can hear the chickens early in the morning when the sun's about to come up, roosters crowing. And I'm staying in an area where there's orchards of olive trees, and this morning, as I was walking through some of the vineyards, which you'll see behind me in just a second, and up on the hillside, and going through a few orchards, I came upon a cherry tree that startled me. Actually, it was just a few minutes ago when I ran to get my camera, which I'm going to turn around now to reveal what I saw here. I hope that you can also see the brilliance of the cherries on this tree. And as the morning light is hitting the cherries, I just had the overwhelming sense of how generous the nature of this world is. If you think about these cherries and how they're so inviting, they stand out against the sky and the green leaves. And what a delightful fruit that they extend themselves, the trees basically holding out their arms saying, here, take, 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 take. The whole material world actually is offering us abundance. Here on a farm-like property where I'm staying, there are several wells, and I'm noticing the abundance of water. It just flows so freely, the water pressure is very strong. And that led me to a feeling of gratitude. And as you may have heard me say before, you can't have gratitude for an impersonal force unless there's an intention, which means a person. Intention means person. It means consciousness. It means somebody intended to do something for you. Think about it. If somebody drops a $100 bill and they don't know they dropped it, and you pick it up and take it, can you feel gratitude for that person for giving you $100? No. Likely you'll feel guilty, as you just took $100 that wasn't yours. It wasn't rightfully given to you. Of course, you can make up some excuse. However, if that person sees you and notices that you picked up the $100 bill and you go to give it back, let's say, and then they say, well, you keep it, or you keep half. And there's an intention there. There's an exchange between you and the person. Then you can feel gratitude justifiably, because somebody intended to do something for you. So in noticing all these trees, there's an apple tree, there are the flowers, there are the cherries that I just showed you a moment ago. There's an intention behind this universe. And in bhakti, we acknowledge that actually there's a personal intention. We may say, oh, the universe gave me this, and that's getting a little closer because we're personifying the universe. We're saying the universe is intending to do something for me, but who is behind the universe? That's bhakti. There's a person. And when we come to that person, and when we come to that clear understanding that somebody intended whatever is happening for me in my life, good or bad, and then understand that it's for my good, ultimately, and it's benevolent, and then I have a relationship with that personal source. That's bhakti, and that's happiness. According to the golden monk, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we all have what's called sanitya nitya sambandha, a sambandha, or a relationship with that eternal source. And it's in pursuit of that relationship that we feel happy. And that's the practice of yoga, actually. To be in yoga means to be in harmony with that relationship. And there are deeper and deeper, ever deepening stages of that relationship, which are described in the ancient wisdom literatures that talk about bhakti. So bhakti is simple. It's about our loving relationship with our original source. And it's coming to know that source. We're not the source. We're parts of the source. And that source is personal and has intention, and we have a relationship with that source. So when we chant, we're reaching out. When we do the mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, we're expressing our relationship. We're reaching out for it, and that's why it feels so good. And that's why after chanting or during chanting, we start to see how we are part of a bigger plan, and we feel our purpose. So keep the transcendental vibration going, and thank you very much for listening to my little story this morning. Have a fantastic day.
Another nice video from Vaish. I think he shot it last year when he was in Italy. So just to recap, as we started, if we want to perfect our life, let's take a shortcut. Let's follow the experts, follow the greats who have perfected the life. Let's learn from them what the tips and tricks are, and it's easy to follow them. So now, how to find out who are the experts, who are the greats, who have perfected the life, who have achieved the ultimate objective of life? Well, as Bhagavad Gita says, great souls are rare, but those who are engaged in service to others, they are devotional service to others, they are great souls whom we should follow. So great souls who are engaged in devotional service, why do they do it and what do they do? They do yoga. So what is yoga? As Vaish just mentioned, yoga means to realize what you yourself, that you are original consciousness. You are consciousness, and there is original consciousness with which that you have a relationship with. So once you have this knowledge, then are grateful for everything that has been provided for. For example, the inviting cherry tree which Vaish saw there. It's full of cherries, sweet cherries, and it's available to go and eat and nourish a body. So as he said, there was somebody who provided it intentionally, who made it available. So if we can recognize that, realize that, then we can be grateful for all the blessings and gifts we have in our life, from sunlight to water to oxygen to food to shelter. So once we have that knowledge and we realize that, then we can have a relationship with the Supreme, which is in form of yoga, of love and gratitude, which is bhakti. So that was a quick recap so far of what Vaish message has been. Anything which you liked, which you heard so far, that you want to maybe just share with others? Any questions? Any comments?
I was just thinking on this idea of gratitude. We always hear from him that we should have a heart filled of gratitude. And I was just talking to a friend, and I was asking her, like offering her fruits to Krishna. She's very new, just starting on this path, and I was telling her that we feel such an entitlement towards just basic example, fruits, right? Because I've gone to the grocery store, I've expended my energy and money and effort in order to get that. But we totally miss the point that I have to take myself out of this and go beyond. That apple has come from a tree. That tree has come out of a seed. Where does that seed come from? From another apple. And where does it grow? It grows on the ground. It takes the sunlight. It takes the air. Who's given all of that? We wake up every morning breathing and, soaking ourselves in the sunlight and stuff. Things are so common in our life that we totally miss to express our gratitude towards this. But yes, and again, following the masters, when we follow the masters, when we hear from them, this is the wisdom that they pass on to us. They say, don't take these services for granted. Be a little thoughtful. If you start once, then your perspective will broaden and you'll be able to see beyond mundane, and small little things will start making your heart grateful. And once that gratefulness kicks in, it really deepens the heart. And so thankful to him for sharing this beautiful video of the cherries. And yeah, I mean, definitely a lot to thank for. A lot. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sankari. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing it right, your name. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. And you're absolutely right. Just applying a little more thought, as you rightly said, goes a long way in understanding and being grateful. As Vash mentioned several times, if you throw a stone in front of cat, the cat will just run after the stone without knowing that somebody threw the stone. It won't care. It just tuned to just run after it because it has limited consciousness. But we, in the form of human entity, we have budding consciousness and opportunity to understand that we have been provided for, and we can be grateful for it. And when we bring that gratitude in our life, the entire perspective changes. Of course, you're grateful for all the gifts that you see, gifts in terms of the food, the shelter, the oxygen, and everything else. But as you make advancement, and as your consciousness purifies by seeing all this, even the so-called miseries or challenges or discomfort that you come in your life, you start becoming grateful for those as well, which is kind of difficult to believe. But what you realize is that each of those challenges are for your refinement, for your purification. And at the end of it, you will become better, like how you go to a hospital and you get the bitter medicine, the painful injection, but you know that you will become better. You will become better at the end of it. So not just for all the gifts, so-called gifts that you see, but even for those miseries, you start becoming grateful and thankful. So yeah, thank you for sharing that wonderful message, Sankari. That was nice. Any other thoughts, questions, reflections? No? So I'll just take a minute and make an announcement. I think I did mention it last time too, but we do have a program in Palo Alto today today evening at 6:30 p.m. It's called Next Stop, the Mantra Zone, where we'll get together and have mantra music, some wisdom discussion, and vegetarian dinner. You're all invited. It's from 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. You can go to bhakticommunity.com/meetup-palo-alto. I'll top the link in the chat box. So you're all invited. Please come if you can, or extend it to your friends and families if they are available to join. It will be a wonderful evening. We have a very nice team of musicians who will be coming and doing the kirtan, which will be wonderful. So this is the itinerary. So it starts at 6:30 p.m. to 7 as dinner. 7 to 7:20 we'll have mantra music and meditation, another 20 minutes of discussion followed by another 20 minutes of music meditation. So if you can, please do come up, bhakticommunity.com/meetup-palo-alto, and it will be a wonderful evening. I'm really looking forward to it. So I'll drop the link in the chat box for who are able to. Please do sign up or share it with your friends and families if they are able to come. So then with that, let's go through a few more slides now that we know how to identify the greats, and let's see what the great teachers have to say about what is devotional service and how to be in harmony with the Supreme doing devotional service. So for that, Vash had given a nice little example previously, which I would like to repeat. Let's say that you love Gary or some person. And if you love, as Vash says, that if you tell your spouse I love you, but don't help out, don't maybe like if your husband, and don't help out your wife in, say, kitchen work or cleaning work, or vice versa. If you're a wife, and then maybe don't help out in doing, let's say, grocery at times, that won't go far, right? Like actions speak louder than words. So if you love Gary and you won't love him, then to love is to please. So how can you please Gary? Because as soon as you love someone, you want to please him because you love that person. So there are 4 ways of pleasing the other person. The first is knowing about Gary. Like you can go to Google, search Gary, look at all his past. Maybe, let's say, Gary is a superstar. He is a very famous, let's say, Gary is the most popular actor in US or even the world. So then you can read about all his interviews, what was his childhood like, what made him come to acting, and how he faced all the difficulties but still overcame and gave such a good performance and really become world famous. So that research, that gaining that knowledge is similar to what Jnana Yoga is. Jnana Yoga means reading various wisdom literature and learning about the Supreme, what He is and what does He want us to do. So that's one way to express love, which is to know about the person that you are loving. So like that, we can also express our love to Supreme by knowing about Him, His Supreme's teaching, which has been passed down. So that's one of the paths that we can take. The second part we can take is to meditate on Gary or Dhyana or Ashtanga Yoga, which basically looks like, you love Gary, so you think about him, you think about all the movies he has done, all the dialogues he has said, and which you really like, etc. So you can meditate on him day and night, or whenever you can. So that's equal to Dhyana Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga, where there are various process to be followed, starting from Yama and Niyama to cleanse your external body and then mind and even consciousness by following those practices. And then through various asanas, posture, yoga, pranayama, etc. Then you start controlling your senses after having a clean body, mind and consciousness. Once you start doing these yoga asanas, and then you start doing pratyahara, or we start withdrawing your senses from sense objects, which means you don't hanker for material things. You withdraw and you start controlling your senses so they don't run after all the material objects. And then you concentrate, do meditative absorption, and finally achieve samadhi or union with the Supreme. So that's another path which has been mentioned in wisdom literature to meditate on the Supreme through Dhyana or Ashtanga Yoga. The next path given is Karma Yoga, which is there are 2 forms of Karma Yoga, but the one which is mentioned here is we can't stay still. We have to constantly act, like as if we are still, then we are dead. Even when we are sleeping, our mind and our body functions keep working. They don't ever remain still. So if we have to work, that's what we are forced to do in this world. Then Karma Yoga says, do your duty, but don't be attached to results. Offer the results to the Supreme, knowing that the results, even though sometimes we may, let's say, work very hard but may not get the desired result, and sometimes we may not have, we know that we didn't put in our best, and we are surprised that we got the result. So then we know that somebody else is controlling the results we are getting. So knowing that, offering the result to the Supreme is Karma Yoga. So in case like work for Gary, maybe maybe you get an opportunity. Gary has a nice world tour coming up, and he's going to be down to your city. Once you know that, then he's asking for volunteers to come up and maybe help out in setting up the stadium, maybe signing up the visitors and participate. And there are so many activities to be done, and then you just volunteer. Yeah, I love Gary, I want to see him, I want to be part of his team, I'll go there and help out, keep track of attendance and help out with maybe serving food, things like that. So that's like karma yoga, where you're doing action. Like when you go and volunteer for Gary there, as an example, you're not expecting to Gary to pay you, because you love him so much, you just want to do it for him, right? Like you're not expecting Gary to pay you like that. Well, in karma yoga, you do your actions, but then offer the results to the Supreme, because you love the Supreme. So that's another path that we can follow. And the last is devotional service or bhakti yoga. So here, where instead of doing the all the other paths which we described, this is more in a way that we are doing service. Let's say we get an opportunity to maybe become his personal assistant, as an example, Gary's personal assistant. You are so lucky, then you can be constantly with him. You can start serving him right when he gets up. You can take care of his morning routine, schedule his appointments, make sure he's in right time at right place. When he's happy, you can see him, share his laughter, things like that. So getting such a personal association and constantly being with him, you will really feel very happy that you are always with your idol, the person you love the most, as an example. So that's what bhakti yoga is, where you're constantly doing service to the Supreme and all the other living entities through love and gratitude. And through that process, you're purifying yourself by tuning your mind to the super consciousness or supreme consciousness, by being grateful, as what Sankari just said, that if you can know the source of every gift that you're receiving, then you can be grateful for that source by doing mantra meditation, reading from wisdom literature regularly, and working with a service mind, which a non-reward seeking work. If you do, that's the path of bhakti yoga. That's the path of devotional service, which all these great experts, all these great souls follow, and we can learn from them and follow the path to get the same bliss that they are enjoying. We can also attain the same bliss by following the same path. So those are the 4 paths, and why we should follow devotional service in their path, so that we can also be blissful. So any thoughts, questions on how to love Supreme, what the devotional service is, and what we can do on a daily basis? Would you like to maybe compare the pros and cons of any of those paths, any path which you like more than the other? No? Okay, so that's, I think that covers pretty much most of the topic which I thought we'll discuss today, and really grateful that you all could join today to keep the transcendental vibration going. Repeat some of those slides, reiterate what is, keep the main thing in our life, and what we should follow. So thank you all for joining today, and I hope you all have a wonderful evening and weekend with your friends and families. Do be grateful for all the gifts, be thankful, do help out your friends and families as and when you can. Live a life of gratitude, and please, as I mentioned, I put in the URL on the chat box. If you can, please do join. We would love to have you to have an evening of mantra meditation together. So with that, looking forward to seeing you all next week when Vaish will be back, and let's sign off with a big Hari Bol. to keep the transcendental vibration going. Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Thank you so much, everyone. Yeah. See you next week.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.